How did that feel at age 21 to get an offer at Citadel that paid you $154 an hour?
Yeah, it felt good. I don't have too much more to say. Yeah, it was good.
Why did Citadel ask you to drop out of all the other interviews?
It's probably just like a tactic to reduce competition. They don't want competing offers that you can use to counter negotiate. Because at that point, I already had the DRW offer and I already was trying to negotiate with them on that. I think they were probably just like telling me you should drop out and like not.
And then what would someone earn if they, went back to Citadel full time?
It depends on performance, of course. Maybe expect like a 15% like year over year.
So it's totally reasonable for someone in their third, fourth, and fifth year to be making upwards of $700,000, $800,000 a year total compensation if all the performance incentives are hit.
Yeah, I mean, that's like pretty expected. Yeah, I mean, Ken Griffin is an interesting guy. At least he has like some sort of reputation at Citadel for like being intense. There was like this guy who was losing Citadel a ton of money. He had been like wearing headphones and he was just like vibing to music apparently while like also like losing millions of dollars. And then Ken Griffin came down the elevator with a pair of scissors. And then he just like went down and just like cut the guy's headphones and then started like yelling at him for like an hour. There was one actually egregious story that I heard where someone like pushed their friend down the stairs to like because like they were like really smart and they were gonna like do really well in this test. I was like holy crap.
So why did you end up leaving Palantir?
If you take a look at Palantir stock PLTR from like 2022 to now, I got in at like maybe $7.50 and then it's like 30x at this point. So yeah, I'd probably have like 5 million pre-tax. Yeah, that was kind of a big loss there.
So Kevin, you had Citadel, Palantir, everything was lined up in front of you. Why did you leave the field of quant entirely?
Well,
Kevin, at age 12, you mastered all of high school math all the way through multivariable calculus in just 1 year. How?
Yeah, I guess thanks for the invite to the podcast.
Of course.
Yeah, so my story starts in 6th grade. Basically, one day, my dad, it was just like a normal day, but that day, I guess, his colleague's son at work had just won a bunch of math competitions. And my dad was like really intrigued. And then so he asked him like, how did this happen? And apparently he was doing something called Kumon. So yeah, I guess if you haven't heard about it before, Kumon is like this extracurricular like math studying thing that I think a lot of Asian parents in the US end up doing. So yeah, I ended up getting signed up for that as well. And yeah, that was like actually a really useful experience, I guess. They started me out in letter D, which is like 4th grade. For some reason, I don't know why, even though I was already like advanced in math, they just, started me there. And then I ended up just kind of going through the curriculum, between, like 6th grade and like 8th grade, I just ended up finishing it. So that covered up to some calculus. I actually don't remember if it had any multivariable. I remember it had stuff like integration by parts and like maybe like higher order derivatives, but I don't remember if there's any like multivariable. But yeah, I guess that's sort of what happened.
So how are you able to do this at age 12, all in essentially 1 year? Because I remember when I was 12, like everybody else in the class, there were probably half the kids couldn't even do fractions back then. You know what I mean? So why do you think you were able to actually get all the way through advanced calculus at such a young age?
Yeah, well, I don't think my case is like actually too unique. It's just that in the US, the education system is really slow. So then people don't learn this until later. But like if you're in like China or India, these people are doing calculus in like, maybe 8th grade or something. I mean, it's fundamentally like not that much more difficult than actual, like typical high school math. So yeah, I ended up just kind of, I guess the other thing is that I ended up speedrunning it because I just really hated like doing it. It was really boring because Kumon is like really repetitive. You do the same thing like on one sheet, but then they'll give you like 200 sheets of like the same thing. So yeah, I ended up just kind of speedrunning it because like, you just want to get it over with. And so I went really fast. And I thought that was pretty useful too, actually, for later in life, which I could talk about. But yeah, I don't think it was like too unique, actually.
So this is a Kumon logo. Look at that kid's expression. He does not look happy. So do you think Kumon's a positive or a negative, and why? Why is that their logo?
Yeah, I have no idea why they made that their logo. That's like awful, honestly. But yeah, I think it's definitely useful. It's definitely useful. So like, I also didn't really like it at the time. I think most people don't, because if you're getting forced to do it by your parents, it's just like, for me, I'd much rather like play. Back then I was like playing League. But I mean, looking back, yeah, it's very useful because you end up learning a lot. You're always like sort of ahead of your peers if your peers like aren't doing that type of stuff. And specifically for like going into like tech and quant in the interviews, you have to like do things on the spot. And if you get really fast at doing things quickly, then I mean, that really helps for that. So I just like had practice like my processing speed and just like doing things quickly from Kumon. So that was really useful.
Would you put your kid in Kumon?
uh, yeah, probably not. But not because Kumon's like bad. But there's better options. Like I think nowadays, if you go to Bay Area, all the kids are doing something called like AOPS. It's art of problem solving. That's like a better system because they actually teach you problem solving. Kumon doesn't actually do that. So I'd probably sign up my kids for that instead.
Yeah, it's taught by is the name of the guy Richard Rozick or something?
I don't know because I didn't actually do it, but a lot of my friends in the Bay Area all did it, and then they were surprised that I didn't do it, and then that's when I heard and learned more about it.
Nice. So a lot of people who end up at quant companies or in AI started super competitive school, places where everybody is doing Math Olympiad or going to coding camps. What was your environment like growing up?
Yeah, mine was actually the complete opposite. Because I guess I grew up in like suburban Illinois, and like no one really cared about stuff then. I know what a competitive school would have been like because I went to Berkeley and that was pretty competitive. And also a lot of my friends from Berkeley did go to those like competitive high schools, and they were telling me stories about how like it was just like actually cutthroat. Like there was one actually egregious story that I heard where someone like pushed their friend down the stairs to like because like they were like really smart and they were gonna like do really well on this test. I was like holy crap. My school was not like that at all. I guess that's like a pretty extreme case. But yeah, in my school, like people were just chilling and just like going to school. And yeah, that's basically what I did as well.
Yeah, you bringing that up reminds me of, I also had friends who went to Bay Area high schools and other competitive high schools, like science and math high schools, like specific magnet schools for science and math. And it was so competitive that I think people would be giving each other the wrong answers on the test. So like if you asked your friend, oh, like what was the test? Like let's say they took the test in first period and you're in third period, right? You ask them, well, what was on the test? They'll give you the wrong thing to try to mislead you so you do worse. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually crazy. Like in my high school, like, that market would never exist because no one even cared to like ask other people like, what was on the test. People just didn't really care. So yeah, that's actually really crazy.
So did you know about AMC in high school or not even at all?
No, my high school didn't have that.
Got it. And what was your study life in high school, right? Like what kind of student were you before Berkeley and Citadel?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky because since my high school was like so easy, I kind of just did nothing. Like most days I would go home and then I wouldn't even like open up my backpack and I would just start like playing League. I mean, that was like pretty bad in hindsight because in college I got like, I was really underprepared. But back in high school I just straight up like did nothing.
So how did you survive in high school without basically doing anything?
Well, it's primarily just the fact that it was so like no one did anything that like there wasn't really any need to do anything. So yeah, I guess it was mainly that. And for a lot of classes, like since I did like stuff like Kumon, I kind of just like knew the content already. So there's like nothing to really do like when I was there.
You mentioned how you said nobody did anything. Was it the case that the classes were so easy that everybody's getting A's, or nobody really cared about studying, right? So like how did you end up doing well in high school when nobody's like really doing anything?
Yeah, I guess I'm like exaggerating a little bit because like there were people who were still studying, obviously. I guess personally, I just didn't do that though. I would say the classes were definitely a lot easier than what you would see in, at Berkeley. But yeah, there were people who were still studying, I guess. But yeah, in my case, I didn't really do that.
Did you do AP classes?
Yeah, I did AP.
So I'm sure you did well in those AP classes, but those are standardized across the country, right? So what I'm trying to tease out here is I have a sense that you're actually very skilled, but you're kind of downplaying it by saying like, oh, that like nobody did anything. The school was pretty easy, right? Or correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true in some sense. Yeah, I mean, I was still able to get like 5s on like most APs, but I do think that like I don't know. I looked at the curriculum at Gun High School in Palo Alto because I was curious about like what their CS students are doing because like the kids from Gun who went to Berkeley are just like completely built different.
Don't they like throw themselves on train tracks and stuff or like?
Yeah, because so that's like the downside of Gun High School. But it's pretty crazy. They're learning like functional programming like back in high school. My APCS class, like we never even finished learning Java. Like the first semester was about learning. It wasn't Scratch, but it's like this other like drag and drop language. And then in the second half, they start teaching you Java. And it's also just like not really even taught. Basically, the teacher was just like, gave you Code HS, which is like some website, and then just like go ahead and do it. So yeah, we ended up just like playing Mario Kart and like this other game called Surviv.io, which is like this nice like IO game. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, our class like didn't learn any of that stuff. Like there's no way we would get to like functional programming or like actual data structures. So I do think that the class was also just like objectively a lot easier than like these like competitive high schools.
Yeah, gun high school seems like a high risk, high reward environment.
It's good if you're like actually competitive and can thrive in that environment. If you're just like a random student and you get like placed in that environment, that's like terrible.
Yeah. Actually, my high school is very similar with computer science. Like the computer science teacher was just a repurposed other teacher. So the teacher would teach like accounting, computer science, cooking. It was like all of the electives, which for some reason computer science fell underneath like cooking, right? It was like some elective you could do.
Yeah, that was actually the same for us. So the reason why I took APCS was because there's a requirement to graduate called a practical art. And then the options for that were like cooking and like culinary, ceramics, and then APCS for some reason. And then so yeah, I didn't want to do cooking or AP or like culinary. So
yeah, it kind of goes to show the fact that like they group cooking, ceramics, and AP computer science in the same category. That kind of shows what environment that is.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair, honestly.
Nice. So, what did your parents do? What was that environment like growing up?
Yeah, so my parents were both professors. So that was like, I think a pretty unique experience growing up. Yeah, they were pretty academic, and I ended up like going to my dad's lab since I was a kid. Yeah, I guess like the other kids were probably doing like summer camp or like babysitting or something. I don't know. But yeah, in my case, my parents didn't want me to be alone in the house, and they didn't want me to like go into those things. So yeah, since I was 6, I was like going to my dad's lab, just like helping him with like his research. Yeah, he was a professor doing like biomedicine. So yeah, that was really unique. I'm pretty lucky for that experience. But yeah.
You were helping your dad from age 6 on in the lab. What was that like, and how do you feel like that shaped you long term?
Yeah, so I should clarify that like I was going there since age 6. I wasn't actually doing anything until maybe like middle school. Like when I was 6, actually, yeah, my dad's friend or like his colleague's son, he was also there.
The same math competitions
guy. Same
Kumon guy.
Yeah. His name was Lawrence. Yeah, we would like go in and just like play like Mario Kart, like Yu-Gi-Oh, and yeah, it was a good time. We weren't actually like doing anything until maybe like middle school. But yeah, in middle school we started. Yeah, again, this is like biomedicine, so maybe this is like a bit of out of scope. But we're doing stuff like Western blot or like gel electrophoresis. These are like just like techniques for like running experiments. It was a good experience, honestly. I think I learned a lot, even though I didn't end up going into medicine. I think the skills really transferred for like how to think in terms of just like framing thoughts in the real world, like with like formulating hypotheses, running experiments, stuff like that. And also it helped a lot with like actually doing AI research later as well. Because like I think the main thing is that when you read a lot of papers, you have to pick up a lot of concepts that you didn't know before. They're just like way out of your like prerequisites. You don't have the prerequisites, and you have to do that a lot regardless of what domain you're in. And so you get really good at just like reading comprehension, I guess. So I thought that was pretty useful.
Are you still friends with Lawrence?
Oh man, I haven't talked to him in a long time. Actually, funny thing, he also ended up going to Quant as well.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Not surprised.
Yeah.
What company?
I actually don't remember which one. But he's in Chicago right now. I should probably reach out. We were like great friends back then, and there's no like falling out or anything. It's just that like we didn't go to the same school, and then so at some point we go to college, and I guess like I just haven't caught up with them.
So when you first got to Berkeley, you were surrounded by people who grew up in the heart of the tech world, people whose parents were at Google, Meta, even entrepreneurs or running startups. So what was that experience like for you coming into Berkeley?
Yeah, so when I went to Berkeley, I was completely lost because I didn't know any of that stuff. I guess maybe it's just because like the world is more advanced now, but I guess like nowadays I talk to these high schoolers and they already know what LeetCode is. Like back then, I didn't learn what LeetCode was until my sophomore year of Berkeley. Like more things like that. I guess I never even heard of the term AI or machine learning until I went to Berkeley, and there were like these clubs that were like always like handing out these flyers about like AI and ML. And yeah, I never heard of the word internship. I was just like super lost. So yeah, talking to those kids who their parents were in that position was like super useful because like they basically just like taught me the ropes. And so yeah, I mean that's definitely a thing. I guess like if I were to have gone into medicine, my life would have been like so easy because like I guess like my entire family was doing that type of stuff. Going into tech was like a new world. So yeah, learning from the people who are in the know was definitely a big part.
What do you think your life would have been like if you actually grew up in that environment? Like knowing where you ended up now versus let's say you grew up at Gon High School. Like where do you think you would have been differently in the long run?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I think that like since I was already pretty inclined to like do math and like math competitions and stuff, I probably would have like went down that route. So there's like AMC, Amy USMO, Yeah, I guess like, I never went down that, and it's kind of hard to speculate like what I would have gone to and all that, but that's probably what I would have done as well. And yeah, I guess like life would have been easier if I just had those resources. Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining about like my background, but I guess like there's always a spectrum on like, I guess the more advantages you have, I guess the easier it would have been.
How did your friend Gautam help you eventually make your role to Citadel in the long term?
Yeah, so I guess my friend, I should explain. Yeah, Gautam was someone I met in my freshman year at Berkeley. Later got like pretty close in my sophomore year, and he basically taught me everything because I guess like he's from the Bay Area, and he was really connected. So he knew exactly how things worked. I remember he said something about like when he grew up, his neighbor was like Reid Hoffman, like the CEO of LinkedIn.
Yo.
So yeah, that really helps. He sort of taught me like, in internships you have to apply in the fall. Which I guess like, yeah, to start out, these are like very basic things I didn't know, but you have to like apply to internships in the fall, and like it's like pretty ambitious, like extremely ambitious to like just go ahead and directly apply for, I guess like, the top tech companies with no experience, which I didn't know. I guess like, yeah, I heard from like Berkeley Aman that like Google and like these, FANG companies are like really good. And then so my plan was like, all right, I'll apply to those companies and then I'll just like get an internship. And I had no idea how hard it is. So yeah, I applied in my sophomore fall to like specifically FANG minus Netflix. And I didn't hear back. And then so I was like confused, and I was like, all right, I'll get them back like next year. Until like, yeah, I was talking to Gautam more, and he was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. You have to start small. You have to like, like basically climb up the ladder of like stuff. So yeah, his advice was basically, first you need something. If you can't get even like a startup internship, which I couldn't, so after I applied to FANG, I applied to like over 100 places. I still didn't get like any replies. Yeah, a tangent, I guess like that might seem like unbelievable because I went to Berkeley and the market was like a lot better back then. But yeah, it still was the case that like if you had nothing on your resume, you just like couldn't get replies. So yeah, I guess like he basically recommended, go ahead and join like a research lab. In his case, he was in Rise Lab, and then so he also recommended joining that. And then so yeah, that's sort of how I got my first internship per se, because I emailed like a ton of PhDs at Rise Lab, and I finally got a position there, and that's what really helped me finally get some replies. So yeah, in the sophomore spring, I actually heard back from like a few AI startups, and that's how I got like my first internship. So yeah, ultimately, like I owe like a ton to Gautam. Like he taught me like basically everything about like tech.
Yeah, he almost reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen The Matrix. I haven't actually seen The Matrix either, but I think what's his name, Neo. Like he basically goes into the Matrix, and then there's some guy who like gives him the red pill and shows him like everything basically. And I feel like it sounds like Gautam is that guy for you. Like you just stepped into this new world of Berkeley, knew nothing, and then he really just like lifted the veil off your face and just showed you how the game worked.
But yeah, that's a good analogy. I haven't watched the movie either, but like I guess the Matrix is such like cultural knowledge nowadays that like I also understand what you're saying, even without watching it. So yeah, that was definitely the case for me. Like I had no idea just like how the industry worked, and then he basically like just showed me like, this is basically how the game works, and you have to just like play it.
Listen up. If you're struggling to land an amazing software engineering full-time job or internship, or if you submitted dozens of applications and you feel like nothing is working, or if you failed multiple online assessments and interviews, or you just feel like you don't understand the process to land a great offer in the market of today, I actually run a school for people like you called the Software Engineering Accelerator. Now, over the past year, we've helped dozens of people land incredible jobs at internships at companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, Salesforce, Adobe, LinkedIn, Capital One, MongoDB, JP Morgan, and the list goes on. And the best part about our program is that we actually guarantee the outcome. If you don't get the full-time job or internship you want, you don't pay. So if you'd like to work directly with me and my team of FANG recruiters and engineers to land an incredible job in tech guaranteed, click the top link in the description and submit an application to join us. Before we get into talking about your journey to Palantir and Citadel, tell me more about what your experience was like doing the classes at Berkeley.
Yeah, so I guess like my experience in high school of doing like nothing, like did not work once I got to Berkeley, because my first semester, once I started taking the first class, CS61A, like it was just like way harder compared to anything I'd done, in high school. The other thing is that I just like, not having like the structure in high school, you have to actually like, just live life as an independent person, and I could not do that. So yeah, that was tough. I guess like I thought that I could just like get by without studying and, do things, but I couldn't even like get myself to like, I guess like attend lecture. And so, I remember like for studying for midterm 2, I actually remember that. My plan was basically, all right, the night before, let me just go ahead and watch the lectures, and then I can go ahead and do it. That just like never works. I was like watching the first lecture like in bed and I just like fell asleep. And then so like the next day I was like, oh crap. So yeah, that didn't work at all. So yeah, my first semester I got like pretty destroyed. I had like a B plus in that class. Actually that was also really lucky because it should have been a B, but then like on the last day, the professor, John De Niro, people call him like Daddy De Niro for this reason, but yeah, but he basically like bumped up the bins so that it was yeah, just like people who were on the border could like go up a little bit. So yeah, I ended up getting a B plus in that. And then on the EE class, I also got a B on that one. So yeah, the first semester I just got like completely destroyed. And I have like a winter break of locking in to actually like start learning study skills and all that.
So during that quote unquote great lock-in in winter break, what did you actually do and how did that change you in the long term?
Yeah.
Winter arc, if you will.
Yeah, truly a winter arc. Yeah, it was like pretty standard stuff, I would say. Because that's before I ever got like really deep into it. So I guess stuff like reading self-help, there's like Atomic Habits, Deep Work. These are just like basic books. But yeah, there was all like new exposure to me. So I learned like, I guess behaviors often dictated a lot by like habitual actions. And here's like techniques to like form habits. Also like you need to have like focused work. Also like time blocking was another big thing that I got from like Cal Newport. So like actually I never used a calendar until my like freshman spring. Actually having a calendar really helped me, manage like my day. So yeah, it was nothing like extraordinary, I guess, but it's just that since I had like so little exposure to it, that was just the first time I, sort of heard about any of those.
And when was this? This is pre-COVID, right? Like what exact
Yeah, this was 2018. So this was like
2018. Okay.
Yeah,
So quite a while ago then.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Do you feel like the self-help industry is actually useful for students?
Yeah. No, it's extremely useful if you haven't like heard of any of these concepts. So I guess like if I didn't have self-help, I don't think I would have ever like, or maybe I would have with enough time, but like, it's useful. There are like concepts on how productivity works and like just learning those for the first time is really useful. I think people tend to like, not believe in the self-help industry because of a few reasons. For one, like once you read a few, there's just more, the signal to noise ratio just becomes insanely bad because all these self-help books are saying very similar things. So like after you get the basics, to get that like last 20% or something, it just requires like exponentially more effort to actually like learn anything new. So yeah, that's probably the main reason. But ultimately, like, yeah, at a basic level, yeah, you should read the basics. It's just that, from there you have to like figure things out because there's like less signal in the content out there.
For sure. I think there's a general skepticism around it, but I had the exact same experience as you. It was also after my freshman year. Somehow I actually discovered Ali Abdaal specifically, and he would like really enjoyed all these self-help books. I read Deep Work, Atomic Habits, The 4-Hour Work Week, like pretty much everything, every standard book in the repertoire, right? And that really did actually make a big difference. I also sense it's useful for, I think it could be useful for men and women, but from what I've seen is like, usually it's like girls/women, they got things handled, right? They're like, they've got some good study skills by default. They show up to class, they take notes, etc. Like, I feel like a lot of guys, especially like who didn't really have to try much in high school, they never actually developed study skills. So it kind of requires them to actually sit down and build those later on. So I guess my question here is like, what were like the top 2 or 3 books that actually made the biggest difference for you around that time?
Yeah. So Atomic Habits, Deep Work are probably the top 2. I would say like that's just like, the basics. I think people say that all the time. But for me, that was like not enough per se. I guess it was enough for me to like, okay. It depends on how you define enough. For me, it was very useful. Like I got from like 3.1 GPA my first semester to 4.0 the next one. So it was like good enough to like learn the basics. But for me, like I still had so much trouble like, after that on still like getting myself to like not procrastinate and do stuff. So like, you should go deeper from there if you're still running into issues, which I still was. From there, like you'll not find much mileage on any sort of book. For me, like blog posts from people who were like thinking about it rationally was the most useful. So like there's like a forum called Less Wrong, and that's where I got a lot of advice on how to just like not procrastinate and build systems. Yeah, I guess thinking about it in terms of like systems is very important. So yeah, having like for example, like task management system. I personally nowadays use like Asana. Having like a knowledge management system like AMS. I use like Obsidian, and I have like an entire framework that I got from like Andy Matuszak. He has like something called Evergreen Notes that are like very useful. So yeah, anyways, I've invested like thousands of hours, honestly, or maybe not thousands, but like hundreds at least on like just improving my like productivity. Because I do think I'm like pretty ADHD prone. Like ultimately, I just like would not be able to function in life if I like didn't have all these like extremely detailed systems based on like a ton of reading and analysis.
I think there's a lot of people who I guess for some reason don't need a lot of that. And they look at people like me and you who actually do benefit a lot. And they're like, why do you need that when you can just do nothing? So I'm on the same page as you. I think it really depends on who you are. What were the 1 to 2 biggest behavior changes that actually you implemented between freshman semester, first semester and second semester, which actually boosted your GPA from 3 to 4 at that point?
Yeah. Well, to comment on like your note before, like, yeah, it definitely is like somewhat like genetic in a sense, right? Because like some personality traits, like the big 5 traits, are like pretty like, heritable. In particular, like if you have like strong executive function, then that puts you in a really good spot, or like high conscientiousness. Or if you're just like a high anxiety person, that just kind of like naturally forces you to like care and like be really scared of deadlines and stuff like that. So yeah, it definitely depends on that. And I think in my case, like I really need a lot of effort to get myself to, but anyways, I guess the most important systems, the main one definitely was time blocking. Before that, I just couldn't get myself to actually like go to anything on time. Like I either would just miss it because I guess like, yeah, my entire concept of time changed after time blocking because, for me, I just like was just like going through life, I guess. I don't know how to like best describe this. Like, yeah, in freshman and fall, I was kind of just like going through life. Then things kind of happened and I was like, oh, dang, I missed it. And then after time blocking, it's like if I like religiously was looking at my calendar like a few times a day, then that helped. So that's probably the main one. The second thing was deep work. Like not using your phone when you're studying is really important. Because like, yeah, I guess like I was typically back then in Berkeley, people use Messenger. I don't know. I don't think people do that nowadays, but I would typically like, have lecture on one tab and Messenger on another one. Now I kind of just like do both at the same time. But you just can't really learn the lecture recording well if you like, or also multitasking like that. Unless like the task is boring. Like if it's just like do some like administrative work, then I guess multitasking maybe it's actually beneficial because you can be less bored to like also talk to someone at the same time. But yeah, if you're like trying to actually focus on something, you can't be doing that. There's some other like conceptual framework things. I think like the Eisenhower matrix is a good thing to know. Like typically urgency is like the enemy of importance. So that was a big thing for me as well. Like I would prioritize things I was interested in compared to actually learning the important stuff. But yeah, again, I maybe I shouldn't dwell on this too much because I feel like most people kind of already know this. So maybe I'm kind of just like repeating the same sort of old like tropes here.
I would actually push back on that a little bit. I think I love this line, which is what is obvious to you is amazing to others. There are probably people listening who've never even heard of the Eisenhower matrix, never even heard of time blocking nor deep work. So I benefited a lot from like hearing people kind of talk about that stuff because then I would go down the rabbit hole. So I definitely think like anybody listening should check out those resources. But talking more about your experience at Berkeley, you told me earlier that discrete math actually made a difference towards your decision to go all into computer science. So what specifically happened with that class?
Yeah. So, again, like in my first semester, the CS classes were really hard because my CS background was quite bad. I just had that like AP CS class that didn't really teach much. My second semester, it was better. Like I got an A in the data structures class, but it was still like pretty difficult for me to do that. It was really until like CS70 discrete math where I came to ease with like CS. But like before that, I was like thinking I don't know if I could actually do CS because like it was just hard. I guess like my thoughts were like maybe like CS and math are just like somewhat different parts of the brain. I no longer think that as much, although there are some differences. But I guess back then I just like didn't know if I could do CS. And until I did CS70 and then it came easily again. And then I was like, okay, maybe CS is doable. And then, then when I took like CS 170 the next semester, I just felt more motivated as well to like actually try hard. Because like, I guess before then, I didn't really have ambitions to like get A pluses or do all that. I kind of just want to like survive. After I started doing well, it started motivating me to like do better, I guess. And then so I tried a lot harder in CS 170 just because I sort of felt like I had the capability to do so. I think CS 70 was like a really pivotal class.
You just described, I feel like, something called like the winner effect, right? As soon as you tasted what it's like to win, i.e. get like A's and A pluses, you wanted to continue that streak long term. And it tends to create almost like a winner effect where certain people who like do well want to do even better, and therefore they want to do even better and better and better and better, versus people who like fail and fail and fail and fail and fail. So you have like a wide separation amongst people long term. Did you feel like as you tasted that first success in your second semester of freshman year, you started to carry that attitude towards pretty much everything going forward?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I guess the answer is yes. That feedback loop makes sense, I guess. I do think that happened.
So let's talk about your early internship journey. You mentioned that you had this misconception that one can just waltz into Fang and quant companies literally without even having any experience. So what advice do you have to someone who is in that position? No internship experience, nothing on the resume, where they eventually want to break into a Fang or a quant company?
Yeah, you have to start small. I guess like the first thing is that you should actually do well in your classes. I think that like there's people say nowadays that GPT doesn't matter at all, which is like somewhat true. And then so like the implication there is like just don't try in your classes, but you have to actually like know what you're doing to some degree, especially in the lower devs. So it really helped me to like actually learn data structures deeply and like algorithms. I guess those are especially the things I get tested on the interviews. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I would say like, have like intermediate, like, sort of like, experiences that you can build up to get to the like internships that you want. Like again, in my case, like in any case, to go from like nothing to Fang in like one go is just like not gonna happen unless you have like a parent who works there, I guess. But yeah, otherwise that's just not gonna happen. So you have to like, try to get a startup internship or something. But even to get that nowadays, it's like really competitive. So to get that, you need something before that. So I guess like one advice is like side projects, but nowadays like even that's like super saturated. I guess like everyone has like side projects. So you want to get like some like, basic experience. And in college that typically ends up being like, can you maybe like be like a TA or like a research assistant? If you're going to like this SWE route. So yeah, in my case, I did both of those actually, because like I couldn't get any internships until sophomore spring, where I like started getting offers. So I started out with like doing research sophomore spring, and also TAing sophomore summer actually. So yeah, that's probably what I say.
The analogy I like to use is almost like a staircase, right? And if Fang is at the top and you're at the bottom, imagine trying to vertical jump 18 stairs up, right? All in one go. It's not going to work out. But if you take one step at a time, maybe you start with a club or projects, then you go to some hackathons, then you get some research, then you use the research to work at a startup, then you work at the startup to work at a smaller mid-level company, then you use that to work at Amazon or a lower level Fang company, then you break into Google, then you go to Citadel, right? Like most people who end up breaking into the higher level companies climb their way up slowly. And obviously, you always have the random high schooler who gets like an internship at TikTok or something, right? But it's like incredibly rare that that's the case. Usually, people have to climb up slowly. So let's actually talk about your journey. So what happened after you did the research and worked at that startup?
Yeah, so that startup, that was sophomore summer, going into junior year. Yeah,
what was
that
the startup actually? I don't know if we covered that.
It was called Usher. Yeah, the story there was basically I was like doom scrolling LinkedIn, and then I was like searching up my 126. That's like the upper division probability class. The TA there had interned at that company, and so I was like, you know what, I'll apply. And then so yeah, I was like desperate to like apply anywhere. And then so like any startup I found, I just went ahead and applied. And then so I ended up getting that one. And yeah, that was like okay. It was like definitely not ideal because it was during COVID. So you had a lot less time with like mentors, and I still didn't really know how to code. I mean, I kind of did because like I did the classes and all that, but I never like coded any like real stuff. So I didn't learn too much, I would say, and also definitely was not very productive in the internship. But yeah, it was a good start. I mean, it was something on my resume. So yeah, I guess that's the first thing. And then like junior fall, I started applying again. It was like a little bit better, but like not really. With that internship or like the startup internship, I got a few sweet interviews. So I ended up getting like the internship at Amazon. Also I heard back from a few quant companies. So I also got an offer at Goldman. And then so I ended up doing Goldman. Yeah, I guess I can go deeper if you like, but that's like sort of like the next major milestone.
Yeah, let's start to talk about that application recruiting process. So what was your strategy going into getting those offers at Amazon and Goldman? What did you study and what was the actual interview experience like?
So my intention didn't really match like what actually happened because like I really wanted to study lead code and like get really good at it. In practice, I just had like no time still. So I guess yeah, for context on that in that semester, I was taking like a lot of classes. I took like the 189, 127, like these are like the ML and like optimization theory classes. And then also like a Putnam seminar. I also started like TAing the algorithms class. So I basically just didn't have enough time to actually like do good on like, studying lead code and all that. Well, but I still did a little bit. I probably did about like maybe 70 problems. So like not terrible. And so yeah, that's basically what I did. I applied to a lot of places and then I got maybe like 5 to 10 interviews. And yeah, that sort of happened.
Those 5 to 10 interviews that you got, what were those companies? And then what did you practice to be able to pass those interviews? Was it just lead code or anything else?
Yeah, well, so, okay. Out of the like 5 to 10 companies, most of them are quant companies. because I still think that like, yeah, quant companies are generally more open to interviewing people that don't have like a lot of past experience compared to tech. Because like, well, or maybe it's the case that like on my resume I had like math competitions from high school, and maybe I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, obviously I don't know. Like I think that might have helped the math competitions, but at the same time, like there weren't any like actual like real competitions. I guess like it wasn't like AMC or anything. So maybe that helped me get interviews compared to tech. But yeah, for tech, I still barely got anything. Like I applied for Amazon, and I think Amazon's pretty lenient in giving people interviews, so I was able to get that interview. But let me think. I mean, I think I only had like maybe one more sweet interview. The rest were all quant. So yeah, I did some lead code. Yeah, it was a little bit too late for me to like do any real quant prep. So I basically just like prepped for each company ad hoc, like when I had the interview, but I didn't really do any quant prep.
Yeah, from what I've seen is that I definitely agree with you. I think the quant companies are a little bit more lenient, but I think it's only because the OAs and the interviews are way harder. Anyway, like a quant, like I think Citadel just gives out the OA to a lot of people. And I think it's just automated. Like I think almost everybody gets a Citadel OA. Maybe they changed it recently, but I remember back in the day, if you just cold applied to Citadel, you just get the OA. But it was incredibly difficult.
That's interesting. I actually don't remember getting an OA for Citadel.
Really? But interesting. You went straight to the interview?
Yeah, but I think my case was a little bit different. I guess we can jump forward to there later, but yeah, they reached out to me after So then like, yeah, maybe I just like skipped the OA or something. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Goldman. So like, how did you actually pass that interview? And then what was the offer and working at the company like?
Yeah, as for how I passed it, the thing is like, I was really into, I guess, probability. So even though I didn't do any studying, I think like just by the fact that, I did the classes really well, that really helped. Like I remember the upper division probability class, like 126. I was like that guy on like Piazza who would like answer all the questions. And I ended up getting like an A+ in that class. And so I think that basically was just good enough prep to, I guess like do the client interviews. As for like the experience, it was pretty good. I would say, yeah, it was nice. That was my first time in New York. Yeah, I had two projects. The first project was on, basically like a data science type of project to identify like potential SPAC sponsors. So just like pandas and like linear regression. And the second project was like more like just SWE basically. So I was building like a full stack dashboard for something. And then, it was a good time. I liked it.
What was the salary at Goldman? And how did you feel once you got that offer?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't remember the salary. I seem to remember like some sort of number like 8,000 or like 9,000. I don't remember if that was like monthly or if it was like the full thing or something like that. Maybe it was like $40 an hour, question mark.
Okay. So like roughly around $40 to $50 per hour.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And then what was the name of the role specifically?
Oh, it was a quant strategist at SSG. Yeah.
So how did you feel once you got that? When you actually got the Goldman offer? Because it was your first quant offer.
Yeah, it felt pretty good. I think it was also, maybe this goes back to like that effect you were saying earlier. Like that probably also motivated me to try harder for future quant stuff. But yeah, I think, that was pretty motivating.
So Kevin, how did you get a quant role at Citadel?
Yeah, so I can talk about the whole process there with like the interviews and stuff. So as for how I actually got the interview, that was a pretty unique situation. They actually like reached out to me, and I think, maybe the market was a lot better. I'm not entirely sure how they got my resume. They wanted me to do the quant research position. So I was pretty lucky for that as well, because I thought that was like mostly for like PhDs. But, I guess we'll take it. So yeah, I went through the interview process. The first interview was like just questions about my research background. So I talked about what I was doing at Rise. Back then I was doing like convolutional neural network stuff, trying to make inference more efficient with like parallel computing and neural learning. So yeah, that was good. And then I had a bunch of other interviews that are kind of like varied. Since quant research, they kind of ask like anything. So some lead code, some like stats, probability, some more ML. And then, so that was good. I passed like another 4 interviews. And then there was like a final round, which was a behavioral interview with the team lead. So that one went pretty well as well. And finally, there was actually a final round, which is even after you pass with the interviews. So they have like a thing where Ken Griffin apparently like looks at every new prospective candidate. You have to prepare like a list of like top 5 accomplishments. And then, in my case, I talked about my previous like projects at Goldman, my research, I did another internship at some other startup. I had some other things. So eventually Ken like talked about the research was actually what got me the offer. So that was pretty great. That's sort of how I got that position.
So what other interviews did you do that around that time as well?
Yeah, so that was my like senior year of recruiting. I actually didn't do that many because Citadel had a thing where after I got the offer, they told me to like drop out of all my other like processes. So at that point, I'd only done maybe like 5 to 7 other companies. I was also like thinking about applying to grad school. So I was also like doing some, grad school prep. But yeah, so I didn't actually do that many more interviews.
Grad school. So grad school was also on the table as well. That was something you were considering doing?
Yeah, so I didn't actually really know what I wanted to do. And then I was thinking grad school as a potential option because like I did actually really like research. So yeah, back then I had been doing research at Rise. I also was about to restart like a new position doing like theoretical computer science research. Although I ended up dropping that later. So I didn't end up actually going to grad school, but I was pretty seriously considering it.
Do you think people should reduce their class load to focus on interviews?
In your operatives, yes, because it depends on your goals. I guess like if you want to do grad school, then you can basically reverse that advice.
Nobody listening to this wants to do grad school.
Okay,
everybody wants to get into quant and big tech.
In that case, like I would say, yeah, you should still try hard in your classes in your first maybe 2 years because you have to actually learn the content. But operatives, yeah, you shouldn't prioritize that compared to. Also, it depends on the time of year. Like in the fall, that's when people tend to recruit. So then you should take a light course load. But in the spring, you have to actually like learn stuff. Like you do want to actually learn operating systems and like those classes. So in the spring, that's where you can like, go heavier into, I guess it's like assuming you get the offer. If you don't get the offer in fall, then in the spring, maybe you should also take it pretty light. But yeah, in general, I think it is like generally true that people tend to over prioritize classes.
Which operative classes are actually useful versus the ones that are kind of a waste of time if your goal is to get into quant or big tech? And could you define operative for people who didn't go to Berkeley? Maybe operative is a general term.
I actually don't. I assume that was general. Actually, that could be wrong. Lower division classes are like classes intended for, I guess, like underclassmen, so freshman, sophomores, and then operatives are vice versa. Which classes to prioritize depends on what type of role you're trying to do. I would also say that like there are some general things that if you do CS, you should probably know. So operating systems and algorithms, I think, are probably like maybe the main two. If you want to do something more systems based, you probably want to take the other systems classes. So maybe security, networking, stuff like that. If you want to go deeper into like the math side or like ML, you probably want to take like, optimization theory, operative probability, machine learning. So it depends on what you're going for. Ideally, if you have a lot of time, or you just like, you could actually try to take all of them. But yeah, that's probably my priority list.
Really quick, guys. I've personally worked with hundreds of computer science students and software engineers to help them land incredible, high-paying jobs in tech over the past few years. And from that experience, I put together a resource breaking down the top 5 lessons I learned throughout that process. We'll go through the biggest mistakes people make when trying to land a job or internship in tech and everything you need to kickstart your software engineering career. It's available completely for free at amanmanazir.com/7dayengineer or check the link in the description. So tell me about the interview process at Citadel. You reached out by a headhunter. How did the interviews go at Citadel?
Yeah, so the Citadel interviews were pretty fun, honestly, because I had so many interviews. I was like always talking to different Citadel people because they put me through like the speed trading and QR process. So I ended up doing like maybe like 18 or something. But yeah, Citadel interviews are pretty random.
Tell me like what the structure of the interviews were and what kind of topics they asked you about. If you were almost telling someone who wanted to interview at Citadel what to study.
So for SWE, you should probably study actual like low level code, so like C++. One of the questions they asked me was like design a hash table in C++. And I guess you should probably have taken the operating systems class to be able to do that. For trading, it's like what you'd expect. Study like market making and like probability. Also just like general math. I think like one of the hardest questions I got on the final round was like something about prime numbers. So you have to have like some like discrete math / like just like math experience to be able to do that. Playing like different trading games. Like in the Citadel final round is pretty actually. Yeah, I do think it was like kind of fun. They invite a bunch of other final round people that are also interviewing, and then you like play a game with them, and then they like start like judging you, I guess. So like I think the game was something like it's like a card game. You're trying to like build a market around the sum of the cards or something. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was really fun. And I like searched up who I was competing against, and it was like pretty motivating as well. There was like a few USMO finalists, so like top 20 or something in the US. It was a good game. For QR is kind of variable, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a big mix of like some stats, some ML, some leak code, some random math. I had like one interview on doing some proof with like the pigeonhole principle, about like alternating subsequences or something. I also had some ML design questions about like how to like given some like receipts like from trash cans, like how do you actually like make some general prediction or something like that. And yeah, also some like lead code and some other stuff.
So how many rounds of interviews did you have for each of these roles?
So for SWE, I just had the first round and then the final round, but the final round was like 6 interviews. For trading, I think it might have been the same. I think it was just like phone screen and then final round. And then for QR, I had, I think, actually it might have been the same for that as well. I don't remember. I think it was like, 2 interviews in the first round and then another like 4 interviews like in the final round or something.
6 interviews is a lot though for one round. Like, were they back to back to back to back over 3 days? Like, how did they actually schedule these?
Oh no, they're all in one day.
All in one day.
Yeah, it was
damn.
It was 45 minutes, 45 minutes, 45 minutes, and then like a break, and then another 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's a lot. 6 interviews all in one day. Is this normal for quant companies to just like take a whole day and just do interviews?
I'm not 100% sure, but probably, yeah. I think there's like, it's called like a super day. You just end up just like doing a lot of stuff.
So how many total interviews did you end up doing that entire season? And how did you balance it with school? Because I know a lot of these companies, it's like hard to schedule it or you have classes. Like, how did you actually balance everything that season?
Well, because like I took such a light course load, all I had to, like, really the only thing I was taking my time was like TAing. So it was just balancing like TAing plus interviews. It wasn't that bad. The schedule was pretty flexible. As for how many I did in total, I didn't actually like do many interviews because like Citadel reached out really early. And same with Palantir. Like they reached out in like July. So yeah, I guess I was already done recruiting by like August, and I had only done a few other interviews by that point. Like, I guess I should also say that Citadel explicitly told me, please drop out of all your other interviews. So yeah, I guess I stopped doing that. So I interviewed at like Jane Street, DRW, and like one other tech company, and that's basically it in my senior year.
Why did Citadel ask you to drop out of all the other interviews?
It's probably just like a tactic to like, reduce competition. They don't want competing offers that you can use to counter negotiate. Because at that point, I already had the DRW offer, and I already was trying to negotiate with them on that. I think they were probably just like telling me, oh, you should drop out and like not do that anymore.
Interesting. I didn't know you got the DRW offer also. So what was that like? Those interviews?
It was other like standard trading interviews. I thought the DRW interview process was a lot easier than Citadel's. So I guess like, I don't have too much to say there. It was just like, standard on stuff.
And what was the actual offer there? Like, what was the hourly salary for DRW and total benefits there? Just roughly, if you remember.
Honestly, I have no idea. It was lower than Citadel, I guess. But yeah, it was probably still good.
Do you have like any vague range? Because I feel like these numbers are interesting. I'm also surprised that you don't remember, like vague range or anything.
Yeah, actually remember. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Let's talk about. So you said that Citadel wanted you to actually drop out. So you got this DRW offer, and then you were telling them like during the interview process, I have this offer. They told you to decline it before they gave you an offer.
I don't remember the exact timeline. I mean, I remember I had the offer at DRW before the Citadel offer. Okay. But I don't remember the details of like, what exactly happened there. I guess. I don't know. I think maybe I don't know how standard this is within Citadel, but at least for me, the guy was like, yeah, you got to drop out from everything else.
Yeah, that tactic is interesting. I don't know. I feel like, did you like kind of believe them? You were like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to drop out, even though they didn't give you the offer? Or, because I feel like most people would be like, okay, and then actually keep the offers. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is like, there wasn't really much more I wanted besides my Citadel offer, because like, for me, I also already figured back then it was maybe unlikely that I was going to do quant for a long time. So because of that reason, I thought the skill transfer would be highest if I were to do a quant research position. And there's just like not that many quant research positions. So yeah, I didn't really care too much about like recruiting at other places. I felt, I guess, satisfied with that offer.
Do you remember the quant research offer at Citadel? Like what the salary was there?
That one I do remember. That one was like 68,000, I believe.
Oh, nice, for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then what does that translate to in terms of like an hourly rate?
That's actually quite doable. It was over 11 weeks. So I guess like, yeah, you can do the math. It was like 154.
Okay. $154 an hour. And you were what, age 21?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So how did that feel at age 21 to get an offer at Citadel that paid you $154 an hour?
Yeah, it felt good. I don't have too much more to say. Yeah, it was good.
And then what would someone earn if they, went back to Citadel full time? And then what would the career progression at a company like Citadel be salary wise?
Yeah, it depends on the team and the role. In my case, since I was doing quant research, back in my year, the standard new grad offer was 550 TC. Nowadays, there's like some inflation, so it's probably actually like 600, 650. But yeah, I mean, pretty good starting grad. And then each year after that, there's like, it depends on performance, of course. But you maybe expect like a 15% like year over year growth. So yeah, something like that.
So it's totally reasonable for someone in their third, fourth, and fifth year to be making upwards of $700,000, $800,000 a year total compensation if all the performance incentives are hit.
Yeah, I mean that's like pretty expected.
Yeah. So was that your big goal? Because I know you mentioned how like you were climbing this staircase, you were moving up and up and up. Was Citadel really like the big dog company you wanted to break into, or was there one even beyond that you were interested in?
Yeah, not really. I was like, yeah, my goal before getting Citadel was basically like, Citadel, Jane Street, and HRT. And at that point, I already got rejected by Jane Street because I went to the final round. I didn't pass the final round. And then HRT, I guess I didn't care too much about that versus Citadel, so I kind of just like stopped from there.
So let's talk about Citadel. What was the most intense part about working at Citadel?
Well, Citadel like is generally pretty intense, but in my team was actually really chill because like, so my team was a DSG, Data Strategies Group, and they don't have a book, so you don't have like a P&L, and you're not like competing against other like teams within Citadel. So I didn't really have that experience, although I know a lot of other people did. Like I saw some other people, get up at 6 a.m., get back home at like 10 p.m. So yeah, I feel empathy for them. But in my case, it was actually not bad.
What are some fun Ken Griffin stories about Citadel?
Yeah, I mean, Ken Griffin is an interesting guy. At least he has like some sort of reputation at Citadel for like being intense. Yeah,
he's the CEO. He's the founder and CEO, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you the stories, I guess. Sure. Like you kind of just hear this from like other people at Citadel, and then I don't know how true they are. They're probably like mostly falsified at this point, but yeah, I guess one story was that basically there was like this guy who was losing Citadel a ton of money. He had been like wearing headphones and he was just like vibing to music apparently while like also like losing millions of dollars. And then yeah, the story goes like Ken Griffin came down the elevator with a pair of scissors, or so it goes, and then he just like went down and just like cut the guy's headphones, and then started like yelling at him for like an hour. So yeah, I guess like that's like the rule behind don't wear headphones at Citadel. I mean, that's not actually true. Like I wore headphones when I was working there, but yeah, that's like one of the stories. There's one other story about Ken Griffin and the intern in an elevator, where basically like the intern, Ken Griffin asked him like, what are you doing? And then in the span of 30 seconds before they got to like the 26th floor, the intern was like giving some response, but Ken Griffin just felt like it was like not like good enough, and then just like kind of fired him. So again, yeah, these stories are like extremely apocryphal. Like I don't know if they're actually true, but yeah, there's like a sort of like persona that I guess like Ken has like at Citadel, Kenny G.
So did you avoid his section of the office when you were there?
Oh yeah, so I was actually on the same floor as him, and I made sure to never go there.
Was it just known amongst all the interns like, dude, just don't go over there, like something crazy might happen?
Yeah, I mean like it was probably like not actually that scary. I don't know like how true, like this could just be like people like yeah, but yeah, I figured there's like no real reason to go there, so I kind of just like didn't go there.
Nice. So you joined Palantir right after Citadel, full time. How did you actually make that transition?
Yeah, so I should clarify. Back when I got the Palantir offer, that was fall 21. That was at the same time as Citadel. As for Citadel, so actually, yeah, back then I was also considering fifth year masters since I had basically no idea what I wanted to do. And then so I was recruiting for like a lot of things at the same time, and then I ended up just like accepting both, I guess, which is maybe like bad practice. But so anyways, yeah, I went ahead and started working at Palantir. And it was a good experience. It was actually a lot easier compared to Citadel. Like the expectations were way lower. And it was just, you could just tell it was like way chiller. So you didn't have to like really like treat your work as seriously, I suppose. So yeah, it was a good time. Although the stuff I was working at Palantir was like incredibly boring. So that was like sort of the main downside. Yeah, I was working on something like they had like their own version of like basic Google Docs, Google Slides. It was called like Dossier and like Stencil or something. And yeah, it was just like really boring stuff.
What was the salary at Palantir?
Palantir's salary was like 220, I think. It was like 135 a base salary and then 55K in stock. Although, yeah, I guess that 55K would have taken me a long way.
Wait, tell me more about that. Like, what would have happened to your stock if you were still at Palantir?
Well, okay, so I guess like if you take a look at Palantir stock VLTR from like 2022 to now, I got in at like maybe $7.50, and then yeah, I guess it's like 30x at this point. So yeah, I'd probably have like 5 million pre-tax. So yeah, that was kind of a big loss there, because the thing is there's a 1-year cliff, and then I left after like 5 months. So I didn't even get that first year salary. So yeah, that was kind of tough.
So why did you end up leaving Palantir?
Yeah, I think within the first month, I kind of already knew that I just didn't really want to work at Palantir. It wasn't like anything too specific about Palantir. Like I did think that the work is boring, but I guess I just realized that I probably just can't be working like, at a company in general for the next 30 years of my life, because like I just didn't really enjoy like doing it, for one, and like I didn't think I was like doing anything like truly meaningful. I just figured like this is like the only life I'm living. Like I kind of don't want to like just be doing that my entire life. So yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of want to leave pretty early.
What was the timeline on you leaving, and how did you come to the decision to specifically do it when you did?
Oh yeah, so actually I regret not leaving earlier, because I already knew, within like the first month, like I was just like very uninspired. I want to do something. I guess for context, the whole reason why I did CS compared to like math when going to college was because for math I just figured there's just not much like real impact, and then for CS you could actually like do stuff that would like impact the world. I mean, I guess I'm not making any like normative assessments here. I think like in general, if you go into a tech company, I don't think you're like particularly unethical or anything. It's just that like personally, I just wanted to do more. I just like, or I don't know. I just didn't really feel satisfied like going through my everyday life, because I just felt like it just wasn't a good use of time. So I don't know. Yeah, I was like thinking for a while, for a few months on like what I wanted to do, and I had like some sense of like what that would be probably by like maybe like 3 months in or something. But yeah, I ended up procrastinating on leaving. But yeah, that's sort of what happened.
So Kevin, you had Citadel, Palantir, everything was lined up in front of you. Why did you leave the field of quant entirely?
Yeah, for quant, I guess it's basically the same reason as why I left for SWE. I also felt like I just wasn't doing much. Like for quant, like the value that you bring is essentially like liquidity to the market if you're like a market maker, and like that does have some benefits for the world. And also if you have that money, you could use it for other things. But I don't know. I just didn't feel like I was doing much. Like there is definitely value in having traders in society, but like, yeah, personally, I just wanted to like do something that I felt more like satisfied or fulfilled by. So ultimately, that really just comes down to like if not one of these options, if you're like with a skill set, probably you want to create something yourself. So that's why I ended up creating my own thing later. And yeah, I feel a lot happier now doing like what I'm doing. But yeah, honestly, I mean the other parts of the job were really good, and like so I don't deny any of that. Like I did enjoy my time at Citadel, and I mean obviously the pay is good, and like the stuff I was working on, well, it wasn't like too bad. Like I was doing a lot of like ML modeling, and I think that was pretty interesting to work with like these like massive scale data sets. Like you typically won't get that opportunity unless you're at a big company. But yeah, I just like didn't feel very inspired by it.
I think Elon once said that he believes there's an over concentration of talent in finance that should be applied to product to actually make the world a better place. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I largely agree. Yeah, I mean, I think I haven't done any like economic modeling of like what exactly the impact is if you try to like quantify it. But yeah, it feels intuitive to me that probably it's like not an efficient allocation.
If you stayed in quant long term, 5, 10, 15 years, just follow the quant yellow brick road. I mean, quants make millions and millions in their 30s, right? And they build essentially a cash fortune. So was that not appealing to you? Why didn't you just stay for the money?
Well, I'm a pretty like low maintenance guy in terms of like how much money I spend. Like for me, I buy DoorDash, I buy Uber to like go places, and that's basically it. Like, yeah, I don't ever like shop for anything. I think just like based on my personality, that's just like not something I'm super interested in. So like, I mean, obviously like more money would be good. I think the aspect of like financial freedom is definitely useful. It's just that like you're not gonna hit that until like in your 30s, which is great. I mean, it's like a lot better than like most careers. But I guess like I don't know, maybe this is like hubris, but I kind of didn't want to even experience like the first like 10 years of my life like working at a company.
When you were earning that crazy salary at Citadel, even at Palantir, like what did your life look like in terms of spending money? Like, did you just save a bunch of money? Did you spend it on certain things? Like, what did your actual allocation of your resources look like?
So I spent most of my money on medical stuff. I guess for context, I have like a sleep disorder called like called UARS, and so I spent a ton of money on like different doctors and like equipment. To get like a CPAP machine is like already like over $1,000. And then I'd like iterate across the month. But anyways, so that was the main thing. But yeah, still that was like not that much. I mean, I could have like supported that without like a Quant salary. And then DoorDash and Uber Eats, and Uber, because like, yeah, I guess I never learned how to cook. And I still don't really know how. But also like, I guess like the actual reasons that like, the thing is like any time that you spend towards cooking is like, time that you could have spent toward doing other things. I just like, and I guess like it is like, calm and like peaceful for people to cook and stuff, but I don't know, I just like didn't really feel inclined to do it. And I think the place I was in, the DoorDash food was like good enough. I mean, I'm someone who like really likes Chipotle, so yeah, honestly, like I could eat that like 7 days a week and it's totally fine.
Yeah, I think there's a massive concentration of incredibly talented people in Quant who just survive with Chipotle.
Chipotle is so good.
It's
honestly,
great. It's actually really good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Like it's. Do you know Alex Hormozi? Do you follow this stuff at all?
I've heard of them.
Okay, well, he essentially survived off of Chipotle. Like, I feel like if you actually break down Chipotle on a calorie by calorie basis, even to the dollar, it's more efficient than McDonald's. Like, you get more calorie per dollar at Chipotle than McDonald's.
That's
which is
funny.
crazy.
I mean, okay, yeah. For me, it wasn't purely efficiency. Like, I actually just like the taste. Like the chicken at Chipotle, the seasoning is really good, and I also like the guac. It tastes better than other guac. I don't know. Yeah.
And it's also on the healthier side, right? Like, it's not fried, right? It's like a wide variety of vegetables, nutrients, high protein, etc.
That's true. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. It's a blessing that exists in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nice. So, what happened next? I mean, you left Citadel, Palantir. What did you do next?
Yeah. So, yeah, I was thinking for a while on like what I wanted to do. Eventually, I concluded to start Algorverse. So, I guess for context, like what I was thinking before doing that, I think a good framework of thinking about it is like, what do you bring to the table, like, or like, what do you want to do compared to like, what does the world need, and what's like that sort of intersection. In my case, like, as for what I wanted to do, the thing is like, back in college, I actually TA'd for a long time. I went through like the entire ladder there, and like I was head TAing for about like 2 years. I also lectured the eco class, actually, interestingly. But yeah, I really want to get back to teaching because I really enjoy doing that. So that was like one of the main things I want to do. And the other thing was that I guess like this was when GPT was really just came out. This is like 2023. And I had been following like the AI timelines and like the arguments for all that for a long time, but like maybe not that long, but like I've been familiar with like that space, and I guess it felt more visceral that like this is really happening. Like I should be getting back into AI right now. So yeah, that's like what I wanted to do. As for like what did the world need? I mean, it happened to align very well because like the experience that I had going into research is like extremely atypical. Like I guess like if you're connected to a professor, like based on your parents or whatever, then yeah, you can get a position there, but that typically is not how it works and like for everyone else. So I got really lucky. Yeah. So like, if you want to get into research, even as a college student, I mean, I remember when I applied to Rise, I cold emailed every single PhD student there, and I only got a single response, and I could have been zero. I could have just like never got anything. I didn't even bother applying to like Berkeley AI Research, because like I thought it was just too hard. I figured like it's not even worth applying. So yeah, ultimately, I guess the world needed more access to research, especially if you're in high school. There's just like sort of like no way you can get like an actual AI research position. And there were some like other programs that did do similar things, but none of them did actual research. So yeah, like if you looked into their programs, like they basically just like take a cow competition and then like build a CNN and then write a report and then call it a day. But no one was actually doing real stuff. And also, yeah, the other thing to mention is that they costed like 10K, like up to 10K. So it was pretty ridiculous in terms of like the pricing. So yeah, ultimately, like it was a very good intersection of like I really wanted to do research, like teaching or mentorship on AI research, and then the world like really needed it. And so yeah, that's basically how I came up with Algorverse.
So for people hearing about it for the first time, what actually is Algorverse, and what is the most impressive or surprising project to ever come out of Algorverse?
Oh yeah, so Algorverse is an AI research program. Basically, we have a team of like mentors from like OpenAI, Meta, like other top PhD programs and stuff. And we mentor you to basically just like get started with doing real research. So, coming up with a novel idea and also implementing it and submitting it to the top conferences. And then as for like the products that came out of it, yeah, we've had like a lot of really, great projects I'm really proud of. So yeah, this season actually, we had over 230 students accepted to NeurIPS. NeurIPS is like the top tier ML conference. And we're still waiting for like a second batch of results. So yeah, anyways, some of the best projects, one of them was a paper that we submitted and got accepted to NeurIPS, but also the other cool thing was that it was featured by OpenAI. So yeah, basically OpenAI had like a benchmark called Paper Bench that they released in April. And that's to see like how well can AI do real AI research. And so they took like 20 state-of-the-art papers from like NeurIPS and like ICML. And then, yeah, I guess our paper is one of those. So I was like super enamored when I saw that because the thing is like the other papers that are in that paper bench, these are all like, top PhD students and like professional researchers. And then like there's just like one paper of like 4 high school students. And so like that was like, yeah, it was really insane. Like, yeah, I was like really happy when I saw that because the thing is like, I also found out only when it came out. I didn't actually know because like the lead author, Tim, he was like a high school student at the time. Apparently OpenAI reached out to him and was talking to him for like 6 months. But he just like didn't tell me because he was under an NDA and he was like too scared to actually like say anything. But yeah, we've had a lot of great projects. But yeah, that's sort of like what the program is as a whole.
When you think about the future of Algorverse 5 to 15 years from now, where do you want it to be?
Yeah, I mean, I have really bright hopes for like the future of Algorverse because, I mean, the field of AI is like growing and there really needs to be some sort of opportunity to fill in the gap. And that's sort of what we're doing. I guess like, have you heard of Bell Labs?
Vaguely, but tell me more about that.
Yeah, so Bell Labs, there's like a book about it called like the Idea Factory. But it basically like, this was like a lab that existed in the 20th century that produced like insane technological developments. So they had like Claude Shannon, for example, who created like input theory, a bunch of other people. Yeah, the thing is like, we could really do that for the sake of AI. I mean, at least we could be like the training program that really helps, the next generation of like AI researchers. So, let's say like 2028, 2020 or 2030 or something, some like next new big development came out. Could it be the case that all these like top researchers all came from Algorverse to in their beginnings? So that's sort of like the long tail feature that I'm hoping for Algorverse. Yeah, honestly, I think it's like super inspiring. So I really enjoy doing it.
Do you feel like mentorship is even worth it? Or should someone just try to figure these things out themselves? I mean, like you've got ChatGPT, you have the whole internet. Like what's the actual value to doing a program versus just kind of raw dogging it and doing it yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I've done a mixture of both in my life because, yeah, for example, like my dad was a great mentor for learning math and like research. So I'm really grateful for that. But I also did a lot of things myself because like if you go to public school, you kind of have to like fight for yourself, Like I went to public school my entire life, Berkeley as well. You do just like learn a lot from just like, for me, I used to like ask Reddit, like, what classes should I take? That's before I met like Gautam and people like that. And you have to like be like really high agency. And you kind of like learn those skills. But ultimately, like, I mean, if you could pick just one, mentorship just like speeds up the process, right? If people already know like what the key steps are, you don't have to figure that out yourself. And like these unknown unknowns are like a pretty big one as well. Like if you're going to something for the first time, how do you even know that like you should be doing? Like I think the time it would have taken me to figure out everything like the game of like recruiting, for example, if I didn't have Gautam, would have been like way longer or never. I might have just like never like learned these like, I guess like insights that they had. This is especially true for like a domain like research because that just has like so much like, I guess like institutional knowledge that you just cannot really grasp like, or like, grok by yourself. I guess like in the case of, for example, like interpretability research, there's just like so much like tacit knowledge, like, there's like, what are the techniques that people use? There's like, you might see it in papers, but yeah, I have to like actually, learn each one by one, like, linear probes, like sparse autoencoders, like attribution patching, or like, what are like the most important papers? You can like maybe heuristically determine this based on like citation count. But like, if you have someone like Neil Nanda, who's like the head of MECInterpret at DeepMind, just like, tell you everything you need to know. And like his like mental framework of thinking about things. I mean, that's a huge advantage. So I guess like, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here, but ultimately, like, I mean, yeah, mentorship does have like a lot of benefit because it just speeds up the process.
This is a tangent, but do you know Neil Nanda? He's a friend of Ali Abdal's, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess they're both from the UK.
Yeah. They did a podcast together a while ago.
Oh, that's cool.
I think they grew up in the same area, or they were at least good friends in college, or somehow they were connected to each other. So Hopefully I'll have him on the pod at some point.
That's cool. Yeah, no, actually, yeah. Well, okay, I met Neil once, and like I have a good number of mutuals with him since I met him in London. But yeah, I don't know him too well.
Nice. Yeah, I totally resonate where you're coming from there. I think even if you look at like the software engineering career side of things, like if you just know what to do, like you can probably shave off 1 to 3 years on your journey and just accelerate. Like for example, I had a friend who in high school, somehow he figured this all out. Like he's 3 or 4 years younger than me, and he just got Amazon his freshman year of college as his first internship. Then he went to Meta for 2 years, right? So like compare that versus someone who like doesn't even know about FANG companies until they're like a third year of university, right? Like that is millions and millions of dollars in the long run just on the table by like not knowing what to do. So I totally resonate with like what you said with the mission of kind of like providing this path to everyone from an early age. So let's get into some spicy takes. Do you have to be insanely good at math to get into quant?
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I don't think that's strictly true. The thing is, like, okay, it is the case that if you look at LinkedIn's of people who are at those places, they tend to have, you can assume that they're, probably pretty good at math. But the thing is, like, the test isn't strictly about that. Like, there's stuff that you can study for, and I think it is quite, like, gameable in a sense. Because, like, especially if you have more years of studying, I mean, it's just not like rocket science. Like, you can definitely learn the probability concepts with just, like, enough time. So, like, for example, if you are a junior, you could do the cycle once. If you do the cycle a second time or even a third time, the questions are going to be like secondhand to you. If you actually spend all your time preparing for quant, it's definitely doable. I also personally think, I'm not someone who, went through like the USMO pipeline and all that. And I think I was still able to, get the offers. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like, it's a lot more doable than people make it out to be. It's just that like the current circumstances, since they're like really competitive, people tend to only do it if they like have everything lined up for them. But if you have more time, you can really do it. So I guess like that might mean in practice, like try to do like a master's program, for example, to have another recruiting season. I guess like, if you don't have the financial means of doing that, then that's like even tougher. Because like, you have to like pay for a master's program for the most part. But like with enough time, you can definitely do it.
Before we get into the strategies and tools someone can use to actually break into quant, one thing I realized is, I just remember this when you were talking about that. In high school, I went to the summer camp. I grew up in Iowa, so it was completely middle of nowhere. Like nobody ever really did AMC or anything. We were just trying to raw dog it ourselves. Like we were in my basement with like 5 other Indian kids being like, we should just try to learn for AMC. Like we like bought some AOPS book. We're just kind of reading it in there, like just trying to self-study it, right? And then I went to the summer camp where there were kids from Bay Area, like New York, New Jersey, like Thomas Edison or whatever, like all these random places, right? There. And I randomly asked one of them, hey, like, have you done AMC? Have you heard of it? And he was like, oh yeah, I made AME. I'm like doing USAMO. And then we went down the list and asked every single guy, and all of them had raised their hand. They had all taken AMC. They all had taken AME. They were all like on those next levels, right? And then even one of them was like, yeah, there are classes where I grew up. Like there are literally AMC classes that we're all signed up for, and they were all grinding from like age 12, 13 for the AMC. Yeah. And not only that, like you mentioned, there's a leak code class at Berkeley. That's another thing. Like even with leak code, like my school's in a bad school is Wisconsin, so it's like one of the top CS schools like overall in the country, right? But like it's still not at that point where there's like a leak code class, which is crazy. Like we were doing like leak code club where we were trying to like raw dog the problems ourselves and trying to figure it out with online resources. Like I feel like when you have these access to resources like AMC classes, leak code classes, like it really does help.
Yeah, I mean the pipeline is like very well defined, I guess. Like from where I'm from, like the competitive area is called Naperville, and they have like, I mean, I know multiple people who, they did the exact pipeline. Naperville into USMO, and then MIT, and then Jane Street. And then that's just where they are now. Like, actually, I know 2 of them who did the exact same pipeline. And so, like, that definitely exists. It's like, it's a bit unfair. And I would say, like, I did get lucky because Berkeley really helped. I wasn't in the pipeline before that, but after I got into Berkeley, like, that really helped me, And, actually, I should also even mention, like, at Berkeley, there's something called Traders at Berkeley. I wasn't in that, but I have a friend who was. And basically, he told me that, like, at Traders at Berkeley, they have, like, all these people who were in quant from Berkeley, like Max Nama, and then, like, they will go ahead and give talks. And then you have all these other competitive Berkeley people just, like, sharing, like, interview questions and stuff. So, like, I mean, that's, like, a massive advantage, obviously. So I probably should have joined it back when I was there, but I never heard of it. So I guess I just, like, didn't. But, that like definitely helps.
Yeah, I heard the interview question thing is interesting. Like my brother also went to Berkeley, and he would tell me that literally like there were like groups of kids who would like do the Jane Street interview and then just like share the questions.
Yeah, but it actually doesn't really make sense to me because like the thing is like if they're all competing for the same thing, then like the incentives aren't really aligned there. But I don't know. I guess they do. And yeah, if I had that, that would have been really helpful.
So let's actually go into some of those quant resources. You said that you don't have to be insanely good at math. You don't have to be doing competitive math from a young age to actually get into quant. So what are the specific classes and resources someone needs to follow to actually break into the quant field?
So yeah, I guess like for probability, oh, okay, yeah, it depends on if you're talking about SWE or trading. If you're talking about trading, you should do well in your probability classes. For me, that's sort of the main thing, honestly. Once I got really good at the probability classes at Berkeley, I didn't have to do much more prep in order to get quant. I mean, I did end up doing a lot more prep, but I don't think it really helped that much compared to just like my baseline foundation. So that's sort of the main thing for trading, honestly. And for research, similar things, you have to, do well in your research classes, and you should actually do research. So yeah, get into AI research, or like, I guess it doesn't even have to be AI. There's some like physicists who like get into quant research. For SWE, yeah, do well in your systems classes. If you do really well on that, and then you do some system design prep, you should be good to go.
Do you think quant is still worth it in this day and age?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say like it depends on what your goal is. Ultimately, it's definitely still a good career option, right? Like it pays a lot of money, and yeah, I guess like the other main competitor nowadays is like AI. Yeah, you have like companies like OpenAI who are like explicitly trying to recruit people from like HRT and like do these like strategies. But yeah, it depends on what you're trying to do. Personally, I felt like AI was more going to be more impactful in the world, but you don't have to make that valid decision. But yeah, I guess like. Yeah, overall, quant is still a good thing, like a good career option.
You mentioned how there's that yellow brick road from Naperville to USAMA to MIT to Jane Street. What happens after that? Like, is Jane Street really like the end? Like, they get their Jane Street offer, then you never hear from them again? Or like, what do these people do after they start at Jane Street?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So the next step after that is fulfillment outside of work. The thing is like, I know these people. I like. Some of them are in New York right now. Actually, most of them are in New York, and I talk to them pretty frequently. So the thing is, like, for most of those people, unless you like, I have a few different friends here. So one of them moved from Jane Street to Anthropic. So that's like option number one. You like get fulfillment from just like other career stuff that like I guess quant just doesn't satisfy for you. But I have two other friends who are still there, and they just now are just like DJing or like doing other fun stuff. And that's what like nowadays like they're just like having fun and like. So yeah, that's like the other option.
So it's no more like levels beyond Jane Street for these people. It's like you hit Jane Street, you get that income, you have a good day job, and then you start a family, you get married, you like pursue hobbies, etc.
Well, okay. Sorry. There is one more option, which is like you just go even further into quant, I guess. Like I have one friend who he's at SIG right now, and he's flying and moving to Australia because they're having a new desk there, and he's just like running that. Firstly, I would never do that because like I just don't care about quant that much, but yeah, props to him. Like that's crazy. I guess that's the next step, I guess. Or you just like go really deep into like really doing well in quant.
Will the quant field exist in the world of AI?
Well, the financial markets, unless there's like massive differences structurally, which I guess is possible. I don't know. I think it probably will still exist. Yeah, but you never know. I guess like the AGI timelines are probably faster than most people think, and I'm not confident in making any prediction after that.
Well, what do you feel like the timeline is for AGI?
I also don't really want to give an answer there, but It's going to be sooner than most people think. I think that's like pretty much for sure. The thing is like, yeah, the field actually is moving incredibly fast. If you take a look at the growth, I see signs of like some amount of S shape, but I just think that it's going to be like faster than most people think. Okay. The principal argument for this is like basically we're getting closer and closer to automating coding and AI research. And then once that happens, you have a bunch of AI agents doing AI research. And that's just going to produce innovation across the entire world. And that's why like meta superintelligence is like explicitly aiming for that goal. Same with a bunch of other companies. OpenAI, they create a paper bench. So yeah, I guess like when that happens, ultimately it's just going to be a bunch of like AI researchers managing like autonomous AI agents. And then they're just going to be really pushing forward So I guess like if you've read the stuff in this space, like you should go read an article called like AI 2027. That's from what's the guy's name? Scott Alexander and Daniel Kotelkolchko or something. They provide like a pretty tangible like story on what that might look like. There's some criticisms about it, and like I think the timeline is faster than I would say. But ultimately, I do think that is the route that the world's going to take. So yeah, I'm like very concerned about AI safety. I think there's like a pretty decent chance that like everything goes poorly. And that's probably worth talking about. But yeah, anyways, I think timeline's gonna be pretty fast.
Let's talk about it. What's your biggest concern with AI safety?
So there's a few. I guess like most people watching this probably like haven't gone too deep into AI research or AI safety. Like the basic argument goes like AI will get smart enough where it has like a decent amount of power. Even if like it's just like code. The thing is like if you're agentic and you can like call tools or you can command like things in the external world compared to just like the digital world, which you can, that's a concern number one. And the concern number two is like, well, will they? And like if they like, will we win or will they win? The thing is like, it also seems likely to me that they will have like their own preferences, even if it's not like a emotional like sentient being like trying to like achieve its goals. The thing is like, and objects can have preferences. A thermostat will prefer for the room to be in a certain temperature. And there's like this notion of like instrumental convergence where like if you get something intelligent enough, like it's going to be very inclined to try to keep itself to being like shut down and stuff like that. Like I don't think it's like as simple as you just like turn off the button and then they can't do anything. Especially when you get distributed, and especially if you consider a world where there's like multiple AGI like systems all like competing against each other. So anyways, I guess like that's like number two. I guess like there's big concern about like what it would want to do in terms of preferences, and number three is like will it win? For this, I think like the best analogy to think about this is like if you think about like you're playing stockfish on chess, like you might not know exactly how it's gonna win, but you could pretty like confidently bet it's gonna beat you in chess. And so like if something is like much smarter than us, like in the way that humans have controlled like other species, it seems very scary. And this is just in the context of like an AI, like not even considering misuse, right? But now imagine a world where like you have people who are like consciously like bad actors trying to compete against each other, or not even competing against each other, but like let's say there's like one person who just wants to like create an AI bioweapon, right? Like you saw the amount of damage that COVID did, or before that, imagine like the Black Death as an example. If you can like get someone who has like a decent chemistry background or like a biology background, and then like really like also knows how to like jailbreak these systems, that's like highly concerning, and this is like just on an individual level, not even like on like the nation state level. So overall, like I guess probably if you're interested in AI safety, you shouldn't listen to just what I'm saying. You should maybe listen to like the other, I guess like quote unquote doomers. Listen to like Paul Cristiano. He's like the head of Suburban at OpenAI, or at least he was before like they disbanded that team. Or like Eliezer Jankowski. That's like sort of like the main. I don't know. I mean, I don't really want to give myself like a persona doomer, the doomer persona, because like I'm not actually like a doomer. Like in a lot of sense, like I am very optimistic also about the future of AI, and I really want it to come soon. But I think overall though, like the majority of the population has like been severely underestimating the like negative risk that AI might have, and so I'm like very concerned about that, and that's why we created like an AI safety program. We got funding from like OpenPhil to like run this for free. Like everything I'm saying right here is not like because OpenPhil's like forced me to do so. Like I just like felt concerned about this, and then I went out to OpenPhil, and then they were able to fund us. But so I guess like my recommendation, if you haven't heard about this, is like you should probably like read more into it. I think it is actually like concerning.
How do you function in a world where you're worried that AI is going to destroy everything and basically take over? Because I'll give you an example of my brother. He's someone who's like very locked in with these things, right? He's an AI engineer currently. Like he reads a lot about this stuff, and like every like 2 months he'll call me. He's like in his doomer era. He's like, bro, like it's gonna happen. What do I do? I can't even function. So like, how do you keep pushing forward?
Okay, I would say like, if you have like mental health considerations, like you shouldn't look into it much deeper, honestly. Like, because I think that like this does make like some amount of like gloom over like your future life. So yeah, I guess like in my case, like the thing is, I don't think the timeline's like that short. So like, okay, it depends on like just basically like your goals. Like if you knew that you had cancer and you're gonna die in the next month, you would approach life completely differently. So that will differ depending on like the timeline. So if it's 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, whatever, like I think most people, like including myself, like most of the time, like given that we're young and like healthy, it's like easy to like not think about.
So you're basing your timelines gonna be different. Like if you have cancer in a month, like you would act very differently for the next month versus you have 1 year left versus you have 10 years left.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I guess like, for some cancers, that's like actually like a death sentence, but this is not necessarily a death sentence. Like for the matter, I don't think it's like, okay, you have 10 years left before AI kills us all. Like I don't believe that at all. Like I think that there's like some amount of tail risk that like, okay, there's a chance that like life goes poorly. But like, I guess like the sense of like your own mortality will like, incentivize you to like actually like really, treat today as like special. This is going to get to like really cliche, but like it is very true. Like, you should like stay positive. You should like enjoy like the daily moments. It's like hard to like put this in practice, and like there are like reminders I've tried to set for myself to some varying success. But overall, I think that is ultimately the like the antidote. You have to like be really positive and like enjoy what you have, and like that's personally what I'm doing right now. Like I do like work a lot, and but the thing is, like, I mean, I do enjoy my work a lot, but I also make sure to like I still hang out with my friends and like have a good time, and like because you never know, right? Like there's like some amount of risk that like this doesn't last forever, and I think it's good to like keep that mindset.
For some reason, I feel like people treat AI like a different category because you could just die on the street. Like a car could just run you over. Like there's always a threat of that too. Like you could get cancer, Like I don't think AI is a different category in terms of the philosophical aspect of things, right? And the way I kind of cope is I know that people much smarter than me and much more motivated than me are like focusing on the problem. And there is nothing that I can do in this category that won't better be done by an AI researcher or someone who's like actually focusing on this as their main goal in life. So all I can do is like for the next 10 years or 30 years or 100 years or however long it is just do my best to do my daily life. So that's kind of how I think about it.
That's totally fair. Yeah, I don't think that like, I guess like, okay, I told people that they should go into look more to AI safety, but I don't think like that's like, I should like push back a little bit. Like I'm not saying that you like must like, drop everything, go into AI safety, like you can definitely have a fulfilling life, never think about this at all. If you feel like this is like totally outside of your skill set, or you just like don't want to think about this in life, you don't have to, like, and like, I'm not saying that people like should, but like if you're someone who like cares about like, I guess like you're like pretty utilitarian or altruistic and you want to like, I mean, this is kind of exactly why like the group of people who are really most focused on this, like the effective altruists are like so invested in this. It's because like it has like such a, drastic potential impact on like, a bunch of people's lives. So if you're like inclined to care about that type of stuff, then I guess I'll say you should probably like go into that deeper. But overall, like, most of my people that I'm hanging out around, they are not like me, like, in this sense. I'm not saying I'm special in like a positive way, but like, like my parents, like I told them this argument, they're like, okay, whatever, like it's chill, and they're just like not gonna think about it, and that's totally fine. Like you can like totally live life without worrying about this type of stuff.
Is AI coming for software engineering jobs, and is it still worth studying computer science?
So AI is something for everyone's jobs. That's like a scary fact. I think people don't like to like admit that, but like that's like essentially the goal of like AI. You want to like automate these like intelligent agents who can actually do like pretty much everything in the economy. So like the barrier to entry is just going to lift higher. So like you have to be more competent to be able to do certain things. So whether that means to go into CS versus something else, I think CS is scary. You have to like be a lot more competent and like really actually care about it a lot. But ultimately that's true for pretty much everything else as well. As for like the speed in which we're going to like automate certain things, it will vary based on the domain. And it does look like CS is a high priority domain that people want to automate because of the fact that there's like so much economic benefit of having like autonomous AI agents. But like if you're going to automate CS, you can bet pretty good amount of money that like the next thing like accounting that's not going to come out much later. So ultimately, like if you're interested in CS, I think is like the future of humanity is going towards more and more tech. It's still a very good skill set to have if you're actually passionate about it, because that's sort of the main factor that determines is it something that you want to stick with it for a long time. So I guess like personally, for what I'd recommend for like if you're thinking about going to CS is like essentially like, can you see yourself doing this for a long time? If so, yeah, you should probably still do it. But keep in mind the standards are higher, so you have to like really just like stand out and do a great job.
If somebody's studying computer science and they previously were on this normal software engineering path, they're going for internships, new grad offers, etc. Do you think that's still a viable path, or should they change up their approach?
What's the goal?
The goal is to stay economically viable with their technical skill set in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's the right approach, right? Because like the thing is, it's a ladder to get to the position that you want, and like to get higher and higher positions, you need to start somewhere. So like what would that other route be, right? If you were to, instead of go through this path, like try to like maintain your skills to not get automated. Yeah, there are a few people who can like just like build a ton of side projects by themselves autonomously, but yeah, this is like very unlikely. If you haven't already been doing this, then probably you're not going to start doing that. So ultimately, like the path is still the same.
Do you think CS students should pivot to AI, or is like the actual software engineering field as it was for the past, 20 years still like a viable path?
So I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity in AI, but I don't think that the other skills will particularly die out. Like you do need people who are actually like operating at every part of the software stack, like people who are like really good at C++, or whatever that language is in the future. Like, being able to like unravel the abstraction and like understand those details is still going to be important. So I don't think that is necessarily the case that you must get into like AI. But ultimately, I guess like, the AI field is booming. There's going to be a lot of opportunity there. And so that's also why like you see nowadays, like if you, apply for a SWE in the industry, the roles that pay the most tend to be like, AI ML roles. And there's going to be more and more opportunities as like you need people who can actually like run AI infra and like, train these models and all that.
Kevin, if people want to connect with you further, where should they go?
Yeah, I guess like I'll probably create some social media soon. So keep an eye on that. I guess we'll see. Yeah, I'll have like an Instagram maybe and like a YouTube because I'm pretty interested in this. I'm just too busy right now. But besides that, I guess, yeah, check out Algorverse. That's what I'm working on right now. So you can learn more about like, if you want to do AI research, go ahead and, click on our website and all that. But yeah, I guess that's basically it.
Nice. And all of those links will be in the description. But Kevin, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a good time. Hopefully this was like pretty useful. And yeah, it was fun.
That's today's episode of the Software Engineering Accelerator podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you want early access to every single one of these episodes, head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any other podcast app and follow the Software Engineering Accelerator podcast. That's right, you can listen to every episode early on the podcast apps before they get released on YouTube. So make sure to go over and follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and turn on notifications or check the links in the description. And finally, always remember, help will always be given to those who ask for it. So click the top link in the description if you want our help to accelerate your software engineer career and land your dream job or internship.